Welcome to this edition of the Mayor's Report for Pleasanton. I'm your host, Splen Spendorio. Joining me today is Vice Mayor Julie Testa, of course, from the incredible city of Pleasanton. Welcome, Julie. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Splen.
And Happy New Year.
Thank you, and you as well.
Well, so at the top of the show, we want to know if you have any topics you'd like to share with our viewers.
Well, I'm pretty consistent. I'm very proud of our recently instituted alternative response unit. I know you've had some discussion in prior reports, but it's so important to me. I wanted to highlight it a little bit more, but also bring with it that the ARU, Alternative Response Program, that is a program out of the police department that combines a sergeant, 2 officers, and 2 clinicians, provide an opportunity to transform how vulnerable people in crisis are responded to in our community. And it's been amazingly successful. In the beginning of the program, it really only started January of 2023. And in its first year of operations, the Alternative Response Unit responded to over 367 calls for service. Wow. A uniformed police assistant was only required in 96 of those 367. And that's huge, because what that means is people who are with mental health crises or other personal crises are being treated as a medical response by clinicians. And what it does is it helps to de-escalate crisis situations and have far better outcomes. So it frees up the police. The police, that was never intended to be their responsibility.
To do what they're supposed to be doing, which is policing.
So they get to, and it really makes our department more efficient by letting the police respond to law enforcement calls.
What a wonderful service to have added to your city. That's incredible, Julie.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I want to say, while it officially started in 2023, this was something that I had been advocating for before I was on the city council. My background is I am on the board of NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, right. And our role is supporting families with a loved one in crisis. So this was a program that was really important to me before I was on council, and I was really proud to get the support that we needed to implement it.
Well, you should be congratulated to seeing it all the way through to have it put in place.
Thank you. But I did want to add one other thing that I don't know that you've discussed in past reports. And one of the really important components is Access Bridge. Have you talked about the Access Bridge program? It's a program that was also recently started. And again, I played a role in bringing forward the need for a program that would create and provide services as needed to everyone regardless of their insurance status. And only a few years ago, if somebody was in crisis, they might hear, we'll get you an appointment in the next 3 to 6 months. When somebody's in crisis, that's an urgent response. Yeah. And that's why so often things ended up in a negative outcome. So the good people at Access Community Health Center heard the need and created a program that has really created resources that didn't exist before. So those 2 programs together. And the ARU also serves our unhoused. It's had a wonderful success in serving our unhoused. I can't stop without at least saying that the combination of Access Bridge and the alternative response has reduced our emergency psychiatric holds, 5150s, by 47% in the first year.
Wow.
A big percentage of those our students at our schools, because our clinicians are responding in an appropriate way that don't require the trauma of those psychiatric holds. So yes, very proud of that program.
So Julie, thank you for bringing that to our attention. That's great. Now, let's talk a little bit about 2023. Always have big news in Pleasanton, but can you highlight some of last year's events that you think will be quite impactful on our viewers in the future?
Sure, yeah. Well, last year's events, in 2023, it was a proactive year for Pleasanton from start to finish. We ended 2022 and 2023 with extreme winter storms.
Yep.
Everybody probably remembers it was those atmospheric rivers, and we had flooding in Pleasanton. It was pretty harrowing for a lot of our neighborhoods. So it brought power outages, down trees, a lot of down trees. Crazy, huh? Since then, our public works staff has made steady progress cleaning and repairing our stormwater system and preparing our cities for this season's rains. We also reimagined our priorities by approving the city's first citywide strategic plan. We took groundbreaking steps to update our water and well system. PFAS and an aging system necessitated a new approach for future wells, funding and planning. We approved a more cost-effective groundwater well project. We've approved new water rates. That was a difficult topic to get through. And the creation of a management plan and 10-year capital improvement plan has been repositioned so the city water program is in a positive position going forward. We focused on communications by updating our long overdue city website and enhancing engagement for our budget process. As I previously mentioned, we successfully launched the Alternative Response Program, and it very much a program that's valued by the community, schools, human services, and nonprofit partners and police department. Oh, I get to mention that our ARU, Alternative Response Unit, was awarded the Helen Putnam Award of Excellence by the California League of Cities. I think you probably discussed that in a past.
Carla was very proud of receiving that.
That was a really good support for the program, and quite frankly, generated some discussion of some of our neighbors who might want to expand that program into other communities. We advanced our housing goals in the community, including getting our certification of the housing element. We raised the bar organizational with the creation and launch of a diversity, equity, and inclusion program, the formation of new public works department, the creation of new financial forecast model, the implementation of new agenda management software, and continued cybersecurity investment and renewed focus on emergency preparedness. I will say that our upcoming City Council meeting on Tuesday, we will be discussing the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion program.
Well, thank you so much, Julie, for telling us about 2023. But I want to ask you a little bit about 2024. What sort of priorities will you and the council have looking into the new year?
Okay, well, we did move forward on a 2-year work plan for a 5-year strategic plan planning process for working and setting priorities. The city currently is developing an implementation plan that will serve as a roadmap for the next several years. We have several initiatives identified by the council as priorities for our first year of that 5-year process and address the city's long-term infrastructure needs. Developing an asset management plan to comprehensively understand and address the city's long-term infrastructure needs. We're selecting and implementing a long-term water quality and supply plan. We're assessing the community's emergency preparedness capabilities and developing a long-term funding strategy for the operation and maintenance of the city's infrastructure and continue of city services.
Right, Julie. If you don't mind, we want to pick this up, but right now we need to take a short break, but we'll be right back on this edition of the Mayor's Report for Pleasanton. Welcome back to this edition of the Mayor's Report for Pleasanton. We are here talking with Vice Mayor Julie Testa, of course, from the city of Pleasanton. Welcome back, Julie.
Thank you.
Hey, Julie, we missed something that you wanted to talk about for 2024, or really, there's actually a retrospective of 2023 because the city solved a big housing issue. Tell us more about that, what was solved and the role you played in it.
Okay, well, certainly it is not a problem solved, unfortunately. What we have done is met the requirements of the state, and what I really would like our community to understand is what it means and what the consequences are for our community. It is very state-driven. It is a process called RHNA, Regional Housing Needs Assessment. It is a mandate from the state that and it used to be a planning process. It used to be that we were required to plan for a certain number of housing units. It's now a production mandate, and it's a punitive mandate that we will be punished for when we don't meet those mandates. So Pleasanton alone is required to produce over an 8-year period about 6,000 units. Almost half of that will have a requirement of affordability. And all cities across the state have been set up to fail. At the 4-year mark, halfway through the 8-year process, there will be an assessment. And if we haven't gotten halfway through those, as I like to say, unachievable, unconstitutional, unfunded affordable housing mandates, the planning authority will be taken away from our city and given to developers. And we'll no longer be able to determine what is in the best interest of our community, how things should develop and where they should go. And it is pretty much a certainty that almost every city across the state will fail. And affordable housing, the 3,000 unit requirement mandate that we have, and by the way, the California Constitution says that the state isn't allowed to give us unfunded mandates, but clearly it is an unfunded mandate. And affordable housing requires subsidies. In Pleasanton alone, for the subsidies only, not the market rate, which the market will produce the market rate, but we have to find a way to help developers with the subsidies. In Pleasanton alone, those subsidies are between $2 and $3 billion. And the state doesn't make that money available. That money doesn't exist. The unfunded subsidy statewide is nearly $1 trillion. Where right now, the governor yesterday just announced a $38 billion budget deficit. They are mandating cities across the state produce these affordable units without providing funding to do so. So almost all cities will fail. And it will not be good for any communities. And they're not talking, the numbers that they've given us, they know are not even real numbers. There was a state legislative audit. Their audit said that the numbers aren't verifiable. And they're not willing to correct those numbers. They say it doesn't matter. We're stuck with them, and we have to follow through with this very broken process that will not serve ours or other cities well. We all want affordable housing, but clearly the RHNA process is not achieving that. In fact, it's all the almost 200 pieces of legislation have made it worse. Affordability is getting worse, not better, and that's because the affordability issue is really an economic issue that they are falsely blaming zoning and cities for. So I really just want my community to understand that we're working within mandates that are outside of Pleasanton's control. And I personally have started an organization statewide where local electeds are coming together and having discussions on how we can get the legislators to look at this differently.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Julie, for finishing that very important topic to you.
Thank you.
And I want to talk a little bit about last month, the council approved a first reading of in essence, banning gas-powered leaf blowers, and so and part of the reason was to help with the city's climate action plan. So I want to talk a little bit more about. Do you anticipate, is this a trend? Are we legislating gas-powered or carbon-fueled appliances out in order to achieve certain climate plans? Tell us a little bit more what you think the future portends in this regard to meet the climate action plan goals.
Well, in the same way that the state is saying that we need to all transition to vehicles, zero emission vehicles by 2035, I think it is. Mm-hmm. I think. Absolutely, we know that we need to continue to transition to, I think that the leaf blower is almost symbolic, and our passing a ban on the leaf blowers when the state actually, as of this month, January, there's a law that leaf blowers can no longer, gas-powered leaf blowers can no longer be sold in the state. So very soon, I think they have 6 months to implement the retailers. And so really, we're only reinforcing what is already happening. We know that the climate action plan, in order to meet those goals, yes, we do have to. I do believe that we will continue, the state will and Pleasanton will, over time, transition away from gas-powered equipment.
Do you think that means that the inventory, for example, of city vehicles might be electrified and other, things that are very important to providing the services the city provide? You think that eventually those will all be electrified?
I absolutely do. I think that we would be farther along, except we haven't put all the infrastructure in place to support those vehicles yet. Right. So we are already transitioning our fleets, and we have hybrid and some all-electric vehicles. I think we just recently approved our first purchase of our PD hybrid vehicles, and they're very highly rated, and the PD is looking forward to having them. So absolutely, I think we need to continue to transition as efficiently as we can. We know that we're overdue already on the climate action, and we already seen the negative impacts of the burden of the GHG.
The gas emissions, yes.
Right.
Yeah, hydrocarbons. So let me change the subject about, you've been vice mayor before, mm-hmm. and you're it for this year. Tell us a little bit about your duties as vice mayor. What does a vice mayor do?
Mm-hmm. Well, the vice mayor is an extension. I mean, I'm certainly a city council person first, and the city council's job is to represent the people. We are the ears and the voice of our residents. Our authority is as city legislative and policy body. We set policy by passing ordinances and resolutions. The council is given guidance and approves the city budget, given guidance together with staff. And we appoint and remove only 2 employees in the city attorney and the city manager. The rest of the hiring is within those 2 officials' purview. We generally oversee city functions with staff advice and recommendations. So as vice mayor, I continue all of that. But in addition, it's a lot of fun. I get to add to it the supporting the mayor when she's not available. The mayor has the same responsibilities and duties as the city council. In addition, presides over the city council meetings and has a lot of additional ceremonial requirements, like normally doing the mayor's report. So it's fun for me to get to add to my responsibilities supporting the mayor as I am today, because she is representing Pleasanton in DC. And so and I will also be presiding at the city council meeting Tuesday night. So it really is a fun additional connection with the community and additional involvement with regional leaders and issues, which I was at covering for the mayor last night at a regional event also. And so it's a really great opportunity to look at things regionally that I don't normally have access to.
Oh, thank you. That's great insight into what you do. Yeah. We have a minute left, and this is a great time for us to talk about any upcoming city events or announcements you'd like to make.
Well, I'm this coming Saturday, so when this is aired, it might be already passed, but is the Make a Difference for Pleasanton Festival. And it's Saturday, January 13th at the Senior Center. There will be 45 nonprofit organizations, and they will be explaining their volunteer opportunities to the community. It's a heavily attended annual event, and it's really a wonderful opportunity to see the good work that nonprofits are doing in Pleasanton. I try to go every year. I'll certainly be there this year, and I encourage everybody. It does. It really does. If people understood how much good work is going on in Pleasanton that we're not all daily aware of. So there's also one other thing I would really like to, I've got quite a list, but we don't have time for. There are many programs at the library, but there's a new one that I'm really excited about that's starting. It's called the Memory Cafe, and it will provide a safe and welcoming space designed to cater to senior adults with cognitive needs, their families, caregivers, and anyone else who enjoys the experience of reminiscing with our seniors. We will specifically have what's called memory kits. It's new. I've been calling and asking when they're going to start, because I'm very excited about this. I have a 95-year-old mother-in-law and an 85-year-old mother, and can really appreciate the importance of what this is going to provide to our seniors.
And I'm sure that it's posted on the city's website, so perhaps we can post a link at the bottom here. But Julie, thank you so much for being with us today and updating all of us. I am Splendorio. Thank you so much for joining us. Please join us for the next episode of the Mayor's Report for Pleasanton right here on Tri-Valley TV. Thank you so much for watching.